Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsey. Today I'm excited to be sharing with you my first alternative project using the September 2022 paper pumpkin kit called Spooky Treats. This fun kit created 18 treat boxes, there are 6 in 3 different designs. These are the original treat boxes that you can create using the kit. And what I like to do is take the contents of the kit and create my own projects, usually handmade cards. And so that is what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be sharing with you 3 super simple and quick Halloween themed cards. Don't forget to subscribe for next month's paper pumpkin kit. It's going to be Christmas themed. It looks like it's got maybe Santa Claus, candy canes. It's going to be really fun. And so this one is going to be cards. So make sure to subscribe before October 10th to get this kit. Okay, so to begin the cards today, you're going to need one of each of the boxes. So the original boxes are this matchbook opening. So you'll need the box for the inside and the outside. So one of each of those. So you can see here I've got the white, black, orange, the plaid, white, and fresh freesia. So on the inside part of the box, so that's this one here, you have this long piece that's been folded so that it would fit in the kit. And we're going to go ahead and cut it right on that score line. So I am using my Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer, and I'm going to line it up right with that 6-inch mark, which is just that edge right there. So that makes it really easy to make sure everything's nice and straight. And I'm just going to trim this off by starting inside the cardstock and then moving to the outside edges. Then I can rotate, and I'm going to trim off these sides here. That should be at about 3 inches. Rotate again, and now I'm going to put this side at 3.5 inches, and that's going to cut right along that score line there. And then rotate one last time to 3 inches. I guess that's not the last time, because we do have one more cut. So our final measurement is going to be 3 inches by 3.5 inches. This piece needs to be folded down. Oh, it cut. Okay. So yeah, 3 inches by 3.5 inches. And we're going to do this to all 3 boxes. So we'll do that again. So open up that flap, flip it around, and you're going to line it up at the 6-inch, the top and the 6-inch guides. Start your blade inside and cut off that flap. This is the flap that was tucked under. And then you rotate, and you can measure here at 3 inches. This line right there should sit at 3 inches, and that will cut off the side flap, come over, cut again at 3.5 inches. I'm going to tuck that flap under just to make things a little easier, and then we'll cut at 3 inches. So again, it's going to be 3 inches by 3.5 inches, and it is going to include a little bit of a score line there. And I'll give you a quick tip on how you can kind of smooth that out in just a minute. So let's do our last one, our white. So line up the top and the side and trim off that piece that was folded under. Rotate to 3 inches and trim. Rotate to 3.5 inches and trim. And then one last cut at 3 inches again. Just like that. Okay. So again, you'll have that score line sitting at the bottom. So all of those are ready for our cards. Next, we're going to take our outside piece, and we are going to use the top of it. So for this particular one, because I'm using the cobweb, I do need to trim right on the score lines for that. And I like to flip it over. I can see the score line a little bit easier if it's upside down. So let's see, that puts it at 4 5/8 of an inch, and that's the angled side. So 4 5/8, and then rotate, and this should be about 2.5 inches. If it's a little bit more, that's okay, but that's generally the size. Okay, so there's that one. These two are a little bit easier because we can just use this 2 end pieces here. And we can just cut that right about 2.5 inches is our final measurement. And if you need to see where the score line is, flip it over. And that's just the solid rectangle side. Okay, so in the end, you're going to have one of each of the front pieces. Okay. Make sure to hold on to all of your extra pieces because I'll be creating a lot more projects with these. So the next step we're going to do is some splattering on our card base. So this is the Orchid Oasis color. I am also splattering on some basic black, and then we've got gray granite. So I'm going to do the Orchid Oasis and gray granite first, and then I'll show you my tip on splattering on black cardstock. So these are just your regular size card bases. Just going to use a bone folder to make a nice crease so that I can see the front of that card. I am going to use my basic black Stampin' Write marker. Push everything else off to the side so I don't get splatter on them. I place the brush tip inside my cap like this, and then I flick it out. I do it quickly, and it's going to create a nice fine mist for my splattering, which I like. If I want a larger splatter, then I'll pull out my water brush, my water painters, and I can get some bigger splatters that way. And so you can kind of see that splatter effect that you can get with that technique. So then for the black card base, I'm going to use some white embossing powder to create the splatter. So the first thing I want to do is add my embossing buddy all over the front of my card base. Smear that around. That's just going to remove any little bit of liquid or sticky areas that might hold on to my embossing powder. So next I like to use a little bit of liquid glue. This is the Tombow liquid glue, and some water. So I've got some water here in my water painter. Just going to mix those two together until I have a nice loose liquid. And then I'm just going to tap this onto my cardstock. And I'm doing a really good job of getting it everywhere except for my cardstock at the moment. There we go. And I'm focusing in the top left and bottom right corners. Now the nice thing about using this liquid glue is that when it dries, it is going to stay tacky. So I'm just going to set that off to the side, let it dry for a minute, clean off my area, and I'll be right back. Okay, our next step is to take some white embossing powder, and we are going to add that to those dots. And then tap off the excess. And then we're going to heat that up. So you know that it's done when it kind of gets melted and shiny. So I'm going to place that off to this side, and we can move on to the next step for our cards. So we are now going to start just adding some of these elements together to create some really cute, simple cards. So I'm going to smooth out that crease on the back just by taking my bone folder and adding some pressure along that crease line. It's not going to be perfect, but it will smooth it out just slightly. And then when you're done with that, you can add your coordinating centerpiece. So it will have a nice border around it. So the black, I'm going to add the spider web. Just a little bit of liquid all the way around. Place that in the center. I'm going to use the white for my plaid. Just try to smooth that out just a little bit. You can also hide it by adding maybe some embossing. So if you have any embossing folders, it would be a good way to hide that score line, would be to add some embossing to those background pieces. I'm going to flip this over, do the same. That just kind of smooths out the liquid adhesive. And then for my purple one, we're actually going to do a little stamping here. Now I'm going to do the white embossing powder again to get some nice white stars. But if you want, you could do those stars in the Orchid Oasis as well. And that is the color that came in the paper pumpkin kit. So just like we did before, we're going to use an embossing buddy to remove any areas. This time we're going to use a Versamark ink pad to stamp the stars. And you can't see them while you're stamping, so you just want to kind of keep a general idea of where you're adding your images so you don't overlap too much. And then once you have those on there, you can see maybe a faint image. You're going to add your white embossing powder. If you have any areas that maybe you don't want the powder, then just use a brush to clean it up. Grab your heat tool again and heat until shiny. All right, once you have heat embossed, it's good to pick up your embossing buddy, which is that white powder we added. And I like to do that with a microfiber cloth. It's just really good at picking up those little extra pieces. You can also clean off your desk with any extra powder as well. Okay, so that's good. And I'll do the same with my stars. You just want to make sure that that heat embossing is all cooled off or you'll smear it, and that's not good. All right, so then that one's ready. And I'm actually adding this to, if you look at the card, you can use the orange if you like, but I wanted it to be white. So I'm flipping it over and I'm going to use my bone folder to smooth that out just a little bit. And using that white side. I have some areas that are kind of pulling up a little bit just because of the score lines that I cut. So if you need to trim any more of that off, you can. This edge down here is also really rough, so I think I'm just going to take a pair of paper snips and just trim it so that it's a little cleaner. There. Right, so you'll get something like that, which is perfect for our card base. Feels a little crooked. Oh well. Okay, So let's add some of these to our card base now. So my stars are going to go on the Orchid Oasis. Just place that in the center. Sometimes I like to add a little bit more space at the bottom. Just eyeball it. I'm obviously not perfect and don't get everything centered every single time. The plaid I liked on the black card base. Maybe something like that. And then the spider web on the gray granite card base. And I have placed the spider web so it's coming from the top right corner. All right, so the next part is the fun part, and that is the decorating. And for some of my cards, I wanted to include some of that fun plaid. And so on the plaid piece that we've cut, there are two sides that are sections. So do you see those score lines? So this one is the angled flap, and then the one right next to it. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim those both off just at the score lines. So this one, that's a full rectangle, is just about an inch in width. And then this one, I'm going to just trim the top or the sides a little bit so that it's a little shorter and it's just a nice rectangle, not angled on the sides. And then if you want, you can trim that down to 3/4 of an inch, or you can keep it at an inch. That's totally up to you, however wide you want it to be. I'm going to go down to 3/4. So the final dimension on that is 3/4 by about 2 3/4 about. So that's just the one that had the angle on it, trimmed off the angles and then made it just a little bit skinnier. So once you've done that, you can start to add some of those die cut pieces. So let's start with our Halloween spider one. So I'm going to take the skinnier piece that I just cut, that's 3/4 of an inch, and I'm going to add that. And you can add this with liquid glue, or you can use the glue dots that came in the kit. And I'm just going to place this at the bottom. It's kind of going to go in the corner on the left, just to kind of hide things a little bit. Okay, just like that. And then I've got the yellow strip that came in the kit. This is one of those die cut pieces. And I'm just going to add that over the strip. Doesn't have to be right in the center. It can be a little bit off center, but I do want to see a little bit of the white at the bottom, and I want it to go inside the black just a little bit. Then I've got my spider, and I've added dimensionals to the center of the spider, and that's going to go somewhere in the middle over all that fun color. And then I also have a dimensional on my spider web, and I'm going to tuck that behind as well. So just a fun arrangement, and you really can do this however you want. And then don't forget about stamping your greeting. I wanted to use Happy Halloween, and I've just stamped it underneath the spider on the card base in Memento black ink. So just like that. Super cute. Then we'll add some stars in just a minute to finish up that card. So the next card is my ghost card. So I'm going to pull in that plaid, and this one's super simple. I'm just going to add my ghost with some dimensionals on the back in that bottom right corner, and I'm going to kind of angle him like he's kind of floating. Next, I'm going to take my Fresh Freesia strip that came in the kit, and I'm going to stamp Happy Halloween on this one as well, but I want to use the Orchid Oasis that came in my kit. So going to clean off Happy Halloween and then stamp that right in the center of this strip. Next, I've got a really skinny piece of crushed curry, and this does come from the kit. Let me show you where I cut it from. And it's just this skinny little strip here between the larger crushed curry pieces. So you just trim it on both sides. And I'm going to add that to the back and bottom of my greeting. Just a small bit of glue right along that bottom edge. And then you can add it right to the center. And it's just going to be a little pop of color there at the bottom. Just want to make sure it's somewhat even all the way across. Okay, so you'll get something that looks like this, and that is going to get popped up with dimensionals as well. And you can just use those mini dimensionals that came in your kit. Super cute and simple. And you really could mix and match these. So if you wanted to add the ghost to the spider web or the spider to the stars, lots of options here. And that just gets tucked underneath in the same spot as the other card. And we'll add some stars. Just a minute. And so then for our last card, there, I wanted to just keep it nice and simple and add Trick or Treat to this scalloped circle from the kit. So ink that up and stamp it right in the center. And that's in the Orchid Oasis to match our card base. Then I've got that strip that we cut, and that can just go right across the stars. And things are going to be a little bit more crooked here because I purposely, or didn't purposely add that crooked, but now I'm going to purposely add this one just so that things look a little bit intentional. And then add some dimensionals here. These ones are the regular size dimensionals, which I also have on hand from past projects. And you can place that in the corner as well. So super quick and simple, and you can see how easy it is to make those mistakes work for you. If something gets added crooked, then add some of your other elements crooked as well, just to make it feel intentional. Then the last thing we can add are the stars. And these stars did come in the kit. And so they're just a really fun, simple, quick, and easy element that we can add just to add a little bit more to those cards. And I'm just placing them with the splatter effect. So on black, we want to keep it off the black so that we can see them. So I'm just going to place them either in the plaid or on the outside edge. Just like that. These cards are just so cute, super quick and simple, and you can make a bunch of them using some of your leftover scraps from maybe trying some other alternative cards. I hope you enjoyed watching me create these fun alternative cards using the September 2022 Paper Pumpkin Kit. If you're interested in seeing written instructions or close-up images of these cards, you can visit my blog, creativechelsey.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.